I call it the dashboard, but it is the main screen of the portal, right? So when a support coordinator jumps in, and some of you on here will already have access because I can see some familiar faces. This is what it looks like. So if I'm jumping in straight away up the top, I can see, how many participants I have with Plan Tracker, how many new plans have been onboarded in the last 7 days. This is really good to have a look at for your plan extension dates too, because sometimes, we get calls often actually to say, look, I don't know whether it's been extended and what's going on. So the whole point of this is that it takes away a lot of the guesswork and a lot of you having to access multiple systems to try and find key pieces of information for your participants. You can also search on status, on name, and also on dates there as well. Plans ending soon. So this is the area that'll show you any plans ending in the next 90 days. When we were collaborating with LACs on this, one of the things they said was, make sure that there's good search functionality there so that support coordinators can search 150 days out for regional areas when we look at the drastic shortage of available OTs and assessors and things like that. So that's certainly something to go in and have a look at too when you're doing your search. And then a bit of a value add for us was birthdays. We thought that was quite a sweet idea to go in and add birthdays for your participants who are having birthdays in that month or that day or that week. So if you're someone like us who you like to write out a little card or you like to send a text, this is something that's added. I will let you know too that if you're someone who likes more of a list view, you can actually toggle over to that. So if you like Justine, who likes long lists of data, then that's your baby. I, for one, like the card view. It's just clear and breaks it right down. I can see her nodding her head.
No, I'm not a fan. I like the list view.
So today we're going to have we're going to use Brooke because Brooke's got quite a bit of data in there. So once I jump into one of my participants, being their support coordinator, I can see straight up the top all the key information I want to see. I can see their NDIS number, their state, their date of birth, the current plan dates, and the nominee contact details. What I also have access to here is any previous plans that Plan Tracker have on file. So often, when you're doing your reviews and you're going back to have a look, you don't want to be having to search elsewhere. So if you've got copies of previous plans too that you want us to store on here, you just send them to us.
Sometimes that's important as well, because a lot of especially recently, there's been a lot of plan end, plan start, and there's pieces of assistive technology that have been funded in past plans, and there's always a bit of a mystery about where was it. And so having those access to those past plans, which I know that there's another portal, I probably wouldn't tell you whose portal it is, but there is another portal where they don't have the access to past plans. You can only see the current plan.
True. And it's something that a lot of people don't use. Even some of the support coordinators, when I say, hey, by the way, you've got that on the portal, and they go, oh, of course. So it's a good thing to remind people of. What you can see now we're having a look at is the visual graph. And I love this because it gives us a really clear snapshot of how a participant's funds are sitting, where it's sitting. So you've got your purple is your spend, your green is your remaining. But this timeline here is really handy just from that quick snapshot of where is the time sitting, the duration. So I already know I'm 63% in time-wise into my plan. And again, you can break that down according to the budget. So when we go and have a look in here, I already know as a support coordinator that there's a bit of an issue with here. And so that's something I need to really start to drill down into and keep an eye on. And you can do the same for capital and capacity building as well.
Nick, if you just flick back to core for a second, what I might just let everybody know is that when we receive the ability to be able to plan manage for a participant, we'll often get a request for service. Well, not often at all. We'll sometimes get a request for service. We never actually get them as just part of the process. So we'll receive the paper plan, and the core supports, unless there's stated items in there, will just have a total amount. There'll be mention of this and mention of that in the actual verbiage of the plan. Right. But what our team will do, and Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll go in and we'll just split that core up into what seems logical at the time. We'll put some in consumables. If it's plan managed transport, we will put aside the transport amount, but remembering it's flexible. We've got the daily activities and the social and community, and we just put it out into those budget categories, and then as the demand starts following through and a pattern starts following through, our team will go in and reallocate from daily activities to social and community, because that's where the actual plan is being spent mostly. So don't freak out that we've put so much in daily activities and you know that that person actually needs additional support with social and community part, and that's what you've got in your head, is that's where you're planning it out. You just got to either let us know if you want us to make those changes. We'll absolutely make those changes so that it can reflect exactly what you're thinking. But just bear in mind that if the budget is flexible, and we absolutely, part of our daily activity is to go in and reallocate as per the demands of what's happening with that plan. It's very much a live piece of work in there.
And it's good too, isn't it? Because I was having this conversation with support coordinator this morning, and one of the things I said is this tool really alerts you to start having those conversations. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to look at this and go, something's wrong. But what it does do is it makes you question, okay, what's going on, but what's the pattern of claiming here, and what are some of the services that we can reuse some of this funding and adjust and move. So there's definitely a tool that's more around alerting you to and just giving you insights into what's actually going on with someone's spending.
I'll just quickly also, sorry, Nick, I'll just quickly point out, because it's not part of the portal itself. With that tracking bar, you can see visually pretty much straight away whether a participant is at risk of overspend or at risk of underspend. And an additional service that Plan Tracker provides is that when a participant's about 30 or so % of the way through their plan, doesn't matter what duration that is, if they are at risk of overspend, and very soon when we are able to see that they're at risk of underspend, we will send out alerts sooner rather than later, so that that corrective action or that conversation can happen and can take place. And then we also send out alerts when there's 10% remaining in the budget. So it's all about just keeping that communication, again, very much live and very responsive. And it's such a great tool to be able to have that tracking bar with the backup of those alerts coming from Plan Tracker as well.
Which is a really good segue, actually, because one of the things that we find, and one of the things that we find is that sometimes just getting calls as a support coordinator anyway, receiving calls to go, well, what's going on? Can you tell me what's happening with this invoice? Or you just want to know, what's actually going on, not just with the invoices themselves, but with the pattern of providers claiming. One of the things at the moment is a participant will meet with this great provider who's marketed really well, let's be honest, and they come back with a service agreement. And you think, well, hang on a minute, that wasn't part of the conversation. I need to know it. This words out of a support coordinator's mouth. We need to know about this because we're the ones, coordinating all of your support. So this is a really good tool to have a look at that and just to be across all of that. And this is really, access to all of the invoices and claims made on that particular participant's plan, and the search functionality is amazing. I could go in and have a look at what's on hold, for instance, and so that's something that you field probably as many calls as we do sometimes about it for participants. And if you go and have a look and you do filter down and you hover your mouse over, it'll actually give you the reason why. So if we know why, you will now know why when you jump into your portal. And in this case, it's an example where a provider's invoiced incorrectly and sending a replacement invoice. So then you know straight away why that's on hold. Another reason it might be on hold is because the participants requested that and said, oh, no, look, they didn't do 6 hours of cleaning. They were only here for 2 hours, so I just want to pop that on hold. You can search in here all of your date ranges, if you like, by invoice number. If you have a particular invoice you want to follow up, budget category, and what I like to, your providers. So if you've got your eye on a particular provider and you sort of think, I just want to have a go in and have a look, definitely that'll bring all of those ones up. So quick access, which is good.
And I think the other thing to note there is not only are you able to see the true and proper invoice, again, comparing to other systems, there's another system out there that doesn't show on the portal, it doesn't show the actual original invoice. It shows a pro forma template-y thingy, but we show the actual invoice that we received from the provider, which is really important to be able to compare what the provider's claiming and what's actually being processed. And not only that, you can also see the claim items, the line items that we have claimed under, which is just another element of transparency. You can pretty much see every keyboard click that we make at Plan Tracker. And that one's important because if you've set about planning out a plan, figuring out what's coming from where. And then if we go, because we're humans, if we go and take something from core that should have come from capacity building or the other way around for whatever reason, you can always see that that's come out of 15 instead of 04 or something like that, or 12 or 11 or whatever. But the fact is, you can see those line items there. And if we need to go back and make those corrections because we haven't processed the way that we should have, or the way that the belief was, that's where another conversation's had. And that's, you know, that just irons out all sorts of challenges and questions and mystery, which, you know, exists within the end. It's its own little beast within the NDIS. So we're just doing our best to find the way to open up that line of communication and making everything that we do transparent and accountable.
That's it. And this happens on at two different angles. You know, this is where your participant or their nominee get their week at a glance that says this is how much is left in your funding, and this is what's been utilized this week. So, you know, we are constantly sort of sending out that information, but we all know there's a lot of participants and nominees out there that put that straight in the bin, or they leave it on their kitchen bench and they don't read it. So we figure now where this tool is there for you to be able to be across all of the activity that you need to know too. So we don't want to be able to, you know, swamp you with weekly emails about this stuff. This is a tool for you to jump in when you want to stay across it. So it's not in your face. It's just a great tool to be able to open up conversation and use. I spoke to someone this morning who actually uses the portal with their participant next to them, sort of shows them so much that the participant went, well, now I don't like your app. Now I want this because they just love the amount of information and stuff that they can access in it. Which is a good segue to reports. So there's, you know, in this portal, we've got four reports. I focus on three of them. Your top one is your everything report, right? So if you have trouble sleeping at night, download that bad boy and go to bed with it, because it's got everything in it, and it's full on, but it's thorough. And a lot of people do use it to put with a lot of their, when they're doing their final reviews. So, but the key three ones that I say to support coordinators, I wish I'd had this tool when I did it, is to take your remaining balance by budget in plan report. So what I say to our support coordinators is, if you're on your way to a client meeting and you want these, that's the other thing. If you can't log into your portal, or you haven't had time, or you haven't done it in months and you don't want to tell someone you haven't done it in months, is to give our customer care team a call and say, look, guys, can I have a couple of these reports? I'm on my way to a meeting. And our customer care team are super supportive and can be there to shoot those off to your email inbox too if you need it. So your remaining balance by budget, again, super crisp, clear, and easy to understand. You know, all of the budgets, any amount of funding that's remaining that's been quarantined because of a service agreement with a provider, which I love, how much has been spent out of what's been quarantined, and what the available balance is. So that's absolutely something that we find even our families are now starting to give feedback on. I got this report from my support coordinator. It's super easy to understand because, again, often they won't necessarily read our week at a glance. And then you spend by provider. So again, the three key reports that I'd be pulling when you know you're going to meet with your families. And I love this one because it's, again, a great quick snapshot of all of the providers who have claimed, what's in process and what's been paid so far, and then the total to date. Does anyone have any questions about this particular report before I move on to the next? No, okay. I'll move on to the next. And then the third one is the service agreements and plan report. So I love this one because we've been spending a bit of time really focusing on getting copies of providers and participants' service agreements so that we can quarantine funds. And I know Kate's on this call, so Kate can tell you all about that. We had this great chat a couple of weeks ago on you know, what are the pros and cons of doing that, of quarantining funds in general. But this is a really good report to be able to, I think, again, it raises that question of, let's say this is Uniting Care, and Uniting Care has said, we've signed a service agreement for $500. And you are, you know, 1 month out of the review, and you can already see that, yes, they've utilized 295, but there's still 205 remaining. Why? You know, did people miss some of the services because they were in hospital, or they decided not to go ahead with that provider? So it flags and raises the question, is funding quarantine where it doesn't need to be? Where else could that funding be utilized? What does that look like? So again, really handy report to have. I would encourage anyone who works with another plan manager out there too, to make sure that you're sending the service agreements in so that they can quarantine funds for all sorts of reasons. Justine, do you want to weigh in on this one?
Well, yeah, except I am conscious
you
of
would.
everybody's time. I just think that quarantining service agreements is just fundamentally, it's just so good. And it's not just good for the participant. Obviously, that's the most important piece, but it's so good for the provider as well. So a provider will enter a relationship or an agreement thinking that they're going to be able to expect to deliver this amount of service over this amount of time. And so often, not with us, but so often they will have to either decide to stop service or just cop debt because a participant has run out of funding. So quarantining service agreements is just such a good idea. It safeguards everybody in the process. It just also, again, opens up conversation. So say, for example, you've got $8,500 in your therapy budget. You've got 3 providers all expecting to deliver $3,000 worth of therapy. We receive all of those service agreements. The third one we can't service. So we go back and start that conversation. And often it just means going back to an OT or a speechy or someone like that just to say, can it be tweaked? Can you do, an intensive block? Can you drop to 45 minutes? Can you do this? Can you not do travel? Can you do it online? Having all of that conversation simply because everybody's across the fact that that budget doesn't fit the delivery of all the services that are expected. And then, do you need to go back for review? Are these services exactly what you need? And I'm talking $600, but we could be talking 60,000. In the past, we've actually had service agreements be submitted to us because there just wasn't enough funding in the core budget. And so that has caused a service provider to go back, and they had built a buffer for themselves in. Go back, resubmit, free up $35,000, which meant that the next person can actually deliver the supports that they need to deliver to that participant as well. So I think it's such a great handy tool, and not everybody can quarantine service agreements or have those reports available. Yeah.
Thank you. And does anyone have any questions on that? No. Okay. Right. Let's move on. So the next feature here is your list of providers. Right. So the great thing is you can select the option to only view current providers. So if you really just want to look at who your regular claimers are and not your ad hoc providers, you can do that. This does connect with your email. So if you click on that, it'll open up the email that, it'll give you the option, and all of their details at hand. So it just makes it nice and easy when you're working on this participant to, pick the provider that you may need to touch base with and have a chat with. So nice and simple. And again, search there. And then the ability to go in, and this one, you go through this way actually. One of the pieces of feedback we got when we were building this was that, not only turnover, of course, with in this industry with support coordinators, but also managing caseloads when people go on leave. So, to be able to go, now that we get company consent, which is the work of our customer care team, anytime someone is onboarded, is to say that if one of you goes on leave, or if one of you says, okay, look, I'm not well, I need to pass on my caseload, is that we can go in and actually assign other staff members and your colleagues, and you have the ability to do that too if you've got the admin rights to this, is to go in and say, okay, I want Kate to sit across Anna and Brooke and Adam while I'm away, and you can actually go in and have a look at which staff members have access to do that too. So quite a handy tool if you're an organisation who's starting to get bigger and bigger and you want to start allocating that coverage as well. So again, nice. You can't break this thing. I've tried many times. Ask my colleagues. Cannot break it. Nice and simple. And that, in a nutshell, in a half an hour nutshell, is our portal. I'm just going to stop sharing for a second.
Your portal is my favourite portal because I find it's really easy to use, and I love the reports. I do that. I take them, especially those what's remaining budgets. I have been printing those off. They're so helpful, and you're right, the clients, they love them.
Thanks, really Jody. Cool. I didn't pay Jody, by the way, anyone. So for any new person that's jumped on here, I haven't paid her. I'm about to. I'm kidding.
I'm being honest, I'm on 3 other portals, and other ones, I'm like, oh, where's the invoice? I can't find where they are, and
Oh, That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll definitely feed that back. Absolutely. Does anyone here have any questions around anything you've seen today, or even any of the conversation pieces?
Hi, not the question, but I am a new service coordinator, ANK coordinator, and this portal seems really, really easy to use. I was really panicking, but the way you explained and the portal works is really, really, easy to do. So I'm very thankful.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
And we're both here for you for any extra support that you might need now that you're up and running. And yeah, any questions? We're old dogs in this in this little world. So please, do reach out to us, and yeah, we're more than happy to take it through like a bit of a slower pace as well. So yeah, we're absolutely here for you.
Thank you so much.
That's right.
Anytime.
Good luck.
And for anyone else on here too that is growing and you just want us to spend a little bit of time with your staff as well to be able to take them through it and assigning people particularly, or anyone that hasn't used it before and thinks I want to give this a go, I'd love to be able to send you some other information, because we did a bit of a blast out about this on LinkedIn and our Facebook community forum as well. So if you've come in totally new and seen this and thought, okay, how do I access that? Just shoot either Justine and I an emails, and we'll jump on that for you and take you through the process. So and again, feedback on it would be good.
Can you send us some staff, please?
Hey, do you want to do a quick staff call out now while you got an audience?
No.
This is Kate, by the way.
Anyone looking for a job, let me know.
I think the only other thing that we need to say, because everybody does need to go, is how do you get to it? Well, you get to it through our website as well. So if you already know that you've got an invite but you've forgotten how to get there, it's through our website, support coordinator portal, and login. And the website's actually undergoing a bit of change. So in the next month or so, you'll probably see a bit of a refresh and a rejig and a brand new website coming from us. But yeah, it's a bit of a watch this space. But please, yeah, any questions, any challenges, it is so easy to navigate. It's such a great tool. It is very clean. It's not busy. We don't try and overwhelm with graphs and stats and all of that sort of stuff.
No
but we
spam
can
on it too. No horrible banners coming up. No. Anyway, but yeah, any questions? You know where we are. Send us an email. We might actually do a follow up too. And again, feedback. Like, let us know what you liked. Anything that you didn't like or anything that you wish it had, because that's the stuff that we're really keen to know too. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Otherwise, we'll let everyone go.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Take care. Have a great week.
You too. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.